दोस्तों, आपका एक बार फिर से बहुत स्वागत है मेरे चैनल हार्ड टॉक पर। और आज हम एक बेहद ही खास मेहमान को लेकर आए हैं और वो हैं रिटायर्ड इंडियन आर्मी से लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल जमीर उद्दीन शाह जी। ही वाज कैपेबल एनफ टू वियर 5 hats। उन्होंने इंडियन आर्मी में सर्व किया है अराउंड 40 years। ही वाज डिफेंस अटैचे of India in the Gulf region, and he was also vice chancellor of AMU. He is an author और उन्होंने अभी हाल में ही एक बुक लिखी है द सरकारी मुसलमान। एक बार मैं आपका फिर से स्वागत करता हूं और लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल साहब आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू। जय हिंद।
जय हिंद सर। So let's start our discussion. The first question is, sir, did you anticipated that Taliban would control Kabul so quickly? Within 15 days में सब कुछ हो गया। तो सर आपका क्या?
Yes, everybody is very surprised. I knew that the Taliban would ultimately win because I had been reading what the American authors had been saying. In fact, one author had suggested that although the Afghans claimed that they had an army of 300,000, but because of corruption, actually they only had 50,000 men on the ground. That's number one. Secondly, Afghanistan is split into so many factions. They're faction-ridden and tribal loyalties. It is not one unified nation. There are different languages, different tribes. And once the Americans gave an indication that they are withdrawing and pulled out the air support to the Afghan forces, they just crumbled like a pack of cards. So it was, but I was certainly not expecting Kabul to fall so fast, but it fell without a fight. I'm very, very disappointed because we have trained more than 8,000 Afghan personnel in the last 20 years. And some of them have reported to have switched over to the Taliban, like Stan Kazai. He's the leader in Doha. He did his training at the Indian Military Academy in 1983. He is now a leading member of the Taliban. So this was, I think, on the cards. But the buckling within a few days, giving up Kabul without a fight was most unexpected.
Exactly, sir. Exactly. और सर अभी हाल में स्टेटमेंट आई है, दे हैव स्टार्टेड पासिंग द स्टेटमेंट ऑन कश्मीर, और उन्होंने अभी बोला है कि कश्मीर में हम मुसलमानों को लेकर वॉइस उठाएंगे, ये हमारा राइट्स है। तो क्या ये पाकिस्तान की लाइन बोलना स्टार्ट नहीं कर दिया है?
देखिए, पाकिस्तान और तालिबान के बीच में बहुत नजदीकी संबंध रहे हैं। पहले तो मैं आपको समझाना चाहता हूँ कि अफगानिस्तान की अहमियत क्या है. What is the importance of Afghanistan?
Yes, sure.
Before we start, I would like to tell you, see, it has traditionally been our friend. And we are aware that Pakistan has got a problem, that Afghanistan has got a problem with Pakistan on the Durand line. They said we don't recognize the Durand line. Pashtuns, who constitute about half the population of Afghanistan, are on both sides of the border in Afghanistan and Pakistan. So this is a friend which we have cultivated for a very, very long time. We made vast investments, almost $3 billion and we concentrated on infrastructure, the Parliament House, roads, dams, everything, airfields. So we trained thousands of people, and we must remember that Afghanistan, through Iran, is our link to Central Asia. We cannot afford to lose Afghanistan at all to our adversaries, and that's what I've been saying. I'll come to this later. We cannot afford to lose Afghanistan to our adversaries, China and Pakistan. We cannot leave the door open.
Yes.
And what is also very, very important is that Afghanistan has got vast reservoirs of untapped security-related, minerals, lithium, copper. All these are very, very important. So because of that, India quite rightly always stressed on close friendship with Afghanistan. Now, if we lose, the main problem for us is really not Pakistan. Although everybody feels that, yes, I think the main problem is Pax, what do you call it? Pax Taliban.
Ex-Taliban.
Pax Taliban, that is China and Pakistan acting in cohesion again against Indian interests in Afghanistan. Pax Taliban. That is going to be the most problematic. The line of control, there has been trouble in J&K in the last few days after Jilani's death. I think the Kashmiris, a small fraction, were foolish enough to spread the Pakistani flag over his dead body. I think it was most uncalled for, and it angered India very much, and he was buried. So that has given rise to a lot of problems in Kashmir. But I think over a period of time, we've developed a grid on the line of control and our internal security grid in J&K, and we should be able to control the situation in Kashmir. Although you are right, a lot of Pakistani leaders of terrorist organizations, the JEM and others, have visited Pakistan. In fact, the Pakistani IS chief is at the moment in Afghanistan, in Kabul, basically trying to get favor for the Haqqani faction, which was responsible for the blast at our embassy, where we lost our defense attaché. So Pakistan has a lot of strategic interest to wean away Afghanistan from India's friendship. And China has the same. China has a lot of interest in Afghanistan. China is the link on their road which they hope to develop through Afghanistan, through occupied Kashmir, Afghanistan, and into Central Asia. They have planned to make huge investments into Afghanistan. The vacuum left by the American withdrawal, it was on the cards, but not so sudden, have left the field open for Chinese economic investments into Afghanistan. Those are just as dangerous as military presence. China is not foolish to send troops to Afghanistan, but what they will do is make huge investments and make Afghanistan dependent on China. That is what I'm fearing most.
Exactly, sir. Very well said and very well explained. Sir, फिर एक आपसे मैं इस पे कमेंट्स चाहूंगा कि CIA रॉ उनको कुछ पता ही नहीं चला, और I have heard lot of stories from social media, from the internet, that ISI basically warlords to Afghanistan में different based upon their demographic, उन्होंने उसको ही तोड़ लिया था. तो CIA रॉ वहां पे क्या कर रहे थे फिर? अगर उनका प्रेजेंस अच्छा है, या जो हमारी इंटेल एजेंसीज हैं, they were not able to get some clue that ISI is doing what from the background.
No, even if the CIA was aware, I think President Joe Biden had made up his mind. I mean, the USA has spent trillions of dollars in Afghanistan. And as they say, the Afghans say, the watch may be in America's hands, but time is with us. That is something which President Biden, he was always against major US involvement in Afghanistan. So I think CIA may have been aware of the weakness of the Afghan army. They may have been aware that the Taliban would ultimately take over. Of course, there's a conspiracy theory that the Taliban and the Americans had an understanding. I call that a conspiracy theory. It may not be too far-fetched. I mean, in these in the domain of diplomacy, anything is possible.
Yes.
But I call it, a theory only. So President Biden was determined to get out of the mess. It was the longest war America has been, 20 years, where more than about 3,000 troops were killed. Billions of dollars have been spent. Large number of US equipment has fallen into Taliban hands. But one thing I must tell you, that before moving out, the US took care to destroy most of the lethal equipment.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Most of the aircraft, most of the choppers, and everything were destroyed. You must have seen it on television. But what has fallen into Taliban hands is very, very sophisticated small arms equipment, sniper rifles. These are, and what the Taliban, I fear, is quite capable of utilizing drones to trouble India. But I am certain that our grid on the LFC and our grid for the security of J&K will be able to control the situation.
Yes, yes, sir. So, sir, what's your opinion that post Taliban 2.0? So, would there be any more insurgency in Kashmir? अगर हम बात करें कि after 370, no one gave any shoulder to Pakistan except Malaysia and Turkey. तो आपको कैसा लगता है कि
Right.
पाकिस्तान यूज करेगा तालिबान को और JEM को?
जरूर देखिए 96 और 2001 में अफगान फाइटर्स मूव्ड इनटू J&K. मगर एक बात है which we must remember, that for a militant, for a guerrilla to be successful, he must have support of the local population. The Afghan fighters did not have it. They did not know Urdu. They only knew Pashto or whatever language. They didn't know Kashmiri. So don't treat that as something which cannot be overcome. I do hope that the repeat of Pakistan's effort to flood Kashmir with Afghan fighters does not happen. But even if it happens, these fighters will be of no consequence. That has been my experience. You need the support of the local population. You need to speak their language. You need to be able to live with them. I don't think the Afghan fighters would have that sort of support. Mm-hmm. So there's really nothing very worrisome. But what can happen is that Pakistan may instigate the local population from giving a lot of trouble to India. And that is why it is vital that we restore the the statehood of J&K the soonest possible. Mm-hmm. That we have got. Look, you cannot fight insurgency without the support of the local population. I have spent many years. Indian Army has spent many years. America spent many years in Vietnam. They didn't have the support of the local population.
Yes.
Insurgency, the military can only control the situation to some extent and then hand over to the civil administration. It is really development of J&K which will kill any demands or any support to the insurgents. Once there's development of J&K, but we've got to make sure that the help or the development project is not pocketed by a few.
Absolutely right, sir.
Unfortunately, that is what has happened in earlier cases. It has been pocketed by a few influential people. We need to spread the message of goodwill. We need to make sure that Indian investment in J&K is spread. And that is what I think the government is aiming at.
True, sir. Very well said, sir. Sir, अभी आपने बताया कि चाइना पाकिस्तान का नेक्सस और चाइना always used Pakistan against India, same as he used North Korea against Japan, South Korea, and for America. So अब उसके अफगानिस्तान भी आ गया है. And recently, yesterday itself, I have seen a report from Nikki Haley, जो UN में ambassador थी from United States of America. तो उन्होंने हाल में स्टेटमेंट दिया है कि चाइना विल ट्राई टू कंट्रोल दी बरगाम एयरबेस और पाकिस्तान को यूज कर दे विल ट्राई टू डिस्टेबलाइज इंडिया। तो आपके सर व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन, व्हाट्स योर इनपुट्स, आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे सर?
देखिए, अफगानिस्तान इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर चाइना. I have told you the minerals, the access to Central Asia, and China has now seen a vacuum by the American withdrawal. That's why I'm saying we should not treat the Taliban like a pariah. What choice do we have?
True.
If we had treated the PLO like a pariah, we didn't. We had negotiations with them. We gave a lot of importance to Yasser Arafat, and we reformed him. Taliban too. Let's not discard them. Look and wait. Don't close the door to Taliban too. I do hope that they are different from Taliban 1. They have said so on many occasions to the international media that they are not going to be the base for any terrorist activity against any country.
Mm-hmm.
And I am certain they mean India. So let's take them to their word. If they don't live up to their word, then we should change our track. But till then, let's give them a chance. That's why I always said, in my article, that I personally felt that our withdrawal of embassy from Kabul was premature. We left the field wide open to Pakistan and China. They've retained the embassies. I know the US ambassador has pulled out, but we should have taken a little risk. After all, I am told that the Taliban only escorted Indian official vehicles to the airport, from the embassy to the airport. And they gave assurances that no damage would be done to the embassy. Of course, our consulates in the 4 consulates in Afghanistan were damaged, but I think that was the work of, some elements. The Taliban has a lot of problems. There are several factions, and it is not one monolith. There are several factions, there are several tribes, but the leadership in Doha appeared to have learned a lesson from the beating they got in the 1990s.
Yes.
They want, Afghanistan is bankrupt. They want financial aid and help. And if the West doesn't give it, China will have no problems in footing the bill, in giving financial aid to Afghanistan. So this is a problem. Pacts between Pakistan and China is a major problem which is going to confront us.
That is true, sir. But sir, इसमें एक पेच ये भी है ना कि यूएस बहुत दूर है अफगानिस्तान से, और यूएस अब चाइना को ट्राई करेगा साउथ चाइना सी में, जो भी रिपोर्ट्स आ रही हैं। अब इंडिया अकेला क्या कर सकता है? वहां पे चाइना भी है, ईरान भी है, पाकिस्तान भी है, अफगानिस्तान पूरा कंट्रोल है चाइना और पाकिस्तान के पास। तो इंडिया के पास तो कुछ ऑप्शंस ही ज्यादा नहीं है। और अमेरिका, आई डोंट थिंक सो
कोई ऑप्शन नहीं,
दैट मच ऑफ सपोर्ट।
कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है।
हाँ जी,
कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है। Establish links with the Taliban, test them out. They are saying complete your projects. Let's do that. Let's test them out. I repeat again, don't treat Taliban too as a pariah. Test them out. If they don't live up to the promises, then we'll see. But these are fringe elements who are carrying out, who raided our consulates and other things. The central leadership, I am certain, has become a little more sensible, and they should be sensitive to India's interests.
Yeah, that is absolutely right, sir. Sir, if we talk about China, US had tried a lot of times to punish China in terms of financial things, in terms of other areas. बट चाइना समहाउ उसको हम कंटेन नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, उसे कंट्रोल नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। चाइना इंटेंशन इज एक्सपेंशन, जो सब जानते हैं, हर कंट्री को डेप्ट पॉलिसी में फंसाना, तो चाइना का सॉल्यूशन क्या है सर? वो बातों से तो मानता नहीं है।
देखिए, मेरा तो ये असेसमेंट है कि चाइना will beat USA in a few years.
हम्म।
I mean, the markets of the world are flooded with Chinese products. They have,
एब्सोल्युटली राइट।
uh, they have been least damaged by COVID-19.
यस।
COVID-19 has affected the whole world. Very little of the Chinese economy has suffered. They have suffered a little, but not as much as the West. And you've seen what happened in the Olympics.
यस।
You know, it is an indication of where China is heading. The United States beat China by only one gold medal. Earlier, the US always had a head lead over everybody else. This time, the Chinese competed. They competed with everybody else. They're competing with USA, and they're going to compete with USA in the South China Sea. My assessment is that the major world power in, say, 20 years is going to be China and not the United States. So we've got to build bridges, as our Prime Minister has been trying to do, personal contacts with the Chinese. We've got to build bridges and make sure that the Chinese Pax, Pak, Pax Taliban doesn't work.
दैट इज ट्रू सर। सर एक आईएसआई हमारी जो पाकिस्तान नेबर की मतलब इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसी है, उसके चीफ हुआ करते थे हामिद गुल। उन्होंने एक बार फरमाया था कि अगर इंटेलिजेंसी डिप्लोमेसी कैसे करनी है तो हमसे सीखो। पहले हमने अमेरिका को चूसा, अब हम चाइना के पास जा रहे हैं और चाइना विल बी द सुपर पावर, लेट्स सी। सो कहीं ना कहीं मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हमें रेफरेंस नहीं तो विजन अपना इस हिसाब से रखना चाहिए, सो दैट वी कैन फोरकास्ट, वी कैन आर्टिकुलेट आवर फॉरेन पॉलिसी, कि हम देख सकें कौन राइज कर रहा है। वेरी वेल सेड। अमेरिका को उन्होंने बहुत यूज किया, F-16 से लेकर एड भी लेकर, वेपन्स भी लेकर, और सैंक्शन से बचता रहा, और अब पूरा उसको अबेंडन कर दिया। अफगानिस्तान में उसको फेल कर दिया, चाइना के स्टार्ट हो गया, चाइना अब राइज कर रहा है। तो ये क्या इट्स क्या कह सकते हैं, तुक्का लग गया या उनकी फॉरेन पॉलिसी ही ऐसी है?
China, Pakistan has played a very, very intelligent game. They kept. Firstly, it was they projected to America that they are the link to the Afghan insurgents when they were fighting the Russians was through Pakistan. That's
Yes.
when they won a lot of goodwill from America. America has not dropped Pakistan yet from their strategic vision. They feel, and who facilitated the link up between the US Secretary of State and Mao Zedong? Okay, it was Pakistan, the Pakistan ambassador. So Pakistan has facilitated the re-establishment of contact between China and the United States. So Pakistan has played, or the Pakistani ISI has been playing a very, very intelligent and sensible game. I felt, switched over from our support to or our dependence on Russia now to a dependence on America, the Quad, and everything else. We've got to, in diplomacy, keep our doors open to everybody. We should not abandon all allies. We've got to re-establish the warm relationship we had with Russia. We've got to maintain the very warm relationship which we've developed with USA. They are still the leading economy and the leading power in the world. But mind you, the balance of power is shifting, and we've got to establish communications and relationship with China. I think our government is well aware of that, and they've been following a very sensible foreign policy. And I'm certain that all our efforts will be successful.
Yes, 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 sir. सर मेरा एक और क्वेश्चन है इसी सिलसिले में, कश्मीर को लेकर। अगर गोइंग फॉरवर्ड और कोई पुलवामा होता है या और कोई पठानकोट होता है, सो डू यू सी दैट अगेन दिस इज गोइंग टू बी ए सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक, एयर स्ट्राइक, और God forbidden, that can go into all out war with Pakistan, या पाकिस्तान प्रॉक्सी करके ही बैठा रहेगा?
Well, I hope there's no all-out war, between two nuclear nations. An all-out war can be pretty dangerous. But India has shown its resolve that in case of Pakistan openly inspired terrorist activity, India is in a position to retaliate. We've done it. We are in a position, but I rule out the possibility of all-out war between the two countries, between two nuclear powers. It is since both are nuclear nations, I think all-out war is a dim possibility.
So last question of the discussion, sir. आपकी एक बुक आई है दी सरकारी मुसलमान, तो सर उसके बारे में कुछ थोड़ा बताएंगे? काफी फेमस।
हाँ, देखिए मेरे जितने दोस्त हैं वो टाइटल को समझे नहीं। वो समझे कि मैं अपने बारे में लिख रहा हूँ कि मैं सरकारी मुसलमान। सरकारी मुसलमान वो होते हैं जो स्टूजेस होते हैं, जो अपने जमीर को बेच देते हैं। ठीक है, मुझे बहुत प्राइड है कि मैं हिंदुस्तान का फौजी हूँ। मेरे फैमिली ने 200 साल से फौज में काम किया है। मेरा बेटा जो फौज में था, मेरा सन इन लॉ नेवी में कॉमोडोर है, मेरे को ब्रदर इन लॉ कर्नल हैं इंजीनियर्स में। तो हमारी जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, हमारी जो ज़मीर कह रहा है वो कि आप जो नमक खाए उस पे आप you be faithful to the salt you beaten, be true to your salt. Yes, तो सरकारी मुसलमान खिताब मुझे दिया गया था. This title was given to me by Muslims when I did not pander to their unreasonable requests. जब मैं अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी में वाइस चांसलर था तो मेरे से कहते थे साहब मुसलमान है, गरीब है, ये है, वो है। तो मैं कहता था मैं आपकी इज्जत जरूर करता हूँ, मगर आपको जानना चाहिए कि अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी में एक तो कोई ये नहीं है कि मुसलमान है या ये है वो है। Admissions are open to all communities.
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
That is something which your listeners must understand. And
Yes.
I'll explain why there are more Muslims.
Yes.
There are more Muslims in AMU because departments like Urdu, Farsi, Arabic, Quranic studies, Islamic studies, no non-Muslim joins. And these
Yes.
are major departments.
Yes.
But in medicine, in engineering, in management of Muslims and non-Muslims, AMU is a secular university. Admissions are by open competitive examinations. तो जब मैं मना करता था, जैसे शाह साहब के पास जाना बेकार है, सरकारी मुसलमान है, that means I am a government stooge, which I am not. I speak my mind, I speak for the country, and let me tell you, we are subordinate to the government, but we are not subservient to any government. The armed forces have got a charter for defense of the country. That is something which everybody must understand.
Yes, exactly, sir. सर बस थोड़ा सा ये रिक्वेस्ट है कि ये जो टाइटल है ना सरकारी मुसलमान, वो कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट कर रहा है. Now this is what even I felt, जैसे आपने बताया कि कहीं आपको
No, I agree.
थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन थी इसमें, but the way
आप किताब पढ़िए और आपको पता चलेगा कौन होता है सरकारी मुसलमान. मैं नहीं हूँ, मैं फौजी अफसर हूँ. ठीक है, और मैं गर्व से कह सकता हूँ कि मैंने 40 साल अपने देश की सेवा की है.
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल. और सर थैंक यू वेरी मच. दिस वाज माय लास्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू, और आपने बहुत अच्छे से वेरी वेल एक्सप्लेन्ड एंड गिवन ईच ऑफ एवरी क्वेश्चन आंसर, एंड इट्स माय प्लेजर टू हैव यू ऑन माय यूट्यूब चैनल. सर थैंक यू वेरी मच एंड जय हिंद.
जय हिंद भरद्वाज साहब.